Okay, let me just start by saying this theory will not be in any way near as ambitious as my first two videos. This is just a quick, small theory that I just wanted to lock in real quick. And some of these ideas are not, I'm not. I realized after I made this video that I'm not the first one to come up with these, but I don't care. You're going to get my takes on it, and that's what the video is going to be. Okay, so let's talk Ironheart. Let's start by going back to before the show came out and talk expectations. Now, this show actually was announced a long, long time ago. I think it's important to look at what you were expecting going into it before you saw it or, didn't see it, and then compare that to what you think about it afterwards. If you think about it, we didn't know much about what this show was going to be about for a while. We did know the show was going to follow Riri Williams, a character we met in Wakanda Forever, as she works on her suit. We didn't quite know the entire vibe of it, but I know my guess was that this was going to be more street level, more about inventing, engineering, like an almost Iron Man movie, and maybe even like Spider-Man Homecoming a little bit. I actually remember there was a very early rumor a long time ago, which was that there was like this Stark AI, like Tony Stark as an AI was going to help her kind of take on the new mantle as an Iron character, which obviously did not happen, but that was the general vibe, right? That kind of story. Honestly, through the first three episodes, it did kind of seem like this was going to be the case. And then we got to episode 4. And from that moment on, a show about a girl making an Iron Man suit turned into freaking Doctor Strange 2.5. Again, I don't know what you expected about this show, but I know I did not expect it to reference so many things from Doctor Strange's universe, including the Dark Dimension, freaking Dormammu, Zelma Stanton, which is a pretty important Doctor Strange character from the comics. I remember reading about her. I read this one arc, really interesting comic book series, but she's a very central character, kind of plays that straight man character of like, oh, this is not my world. And she learns about it. We kind of learn through her kind of situation. And honestly, she's a pretty pivotal part, even more important than Wong in that arc. We also heard about Kamar-Taj, which, sidebar, it said that Zelma's mom is a dropout from Kamar-Taj. And just based on the fact of how it lines up, and based on the fact that her father isn't explicitly mentioned, is it possible that Baron Mordo is her father? I mean, they would have been there at the same time, and I don't know, maybe, just whatever. Possible idea. And of course, the first official reference of Mephisto. Guys, if you did not watch the show, I highly recommend you at least go back and at least watch the very last episode because we got handed a gem with this Mephisto episode. And Sacha Baron Cohen delivers what we call in the industry a tour de force of a performance in his MCU debut. And honestly, this was a beautiful full circle moment for us theorists, especially for those of us who've been doing this since at least 2021 when WandaVision came out, which is really, that's when I got into this kind of thing. For those who don't remember or weren't as involved, when WandaVision came out, we obsessed over every single episode like it was the freaking holy grail. Partly because this was during still some of the COVID stuff and there was less to do, but also because it was a gosh darn amazing freaking show that easily stands as one of the two best MCU shows they've made yet. Anyway, one of the things that everyone kept predicting was that Mephisto was going to appear in that show somewhere, and he was going to be the big bad behind everything. They knew there was some big twist we knew was going to happen. You could tell, but a lot of people thought it was going to be Mephisto. And even some of the showrunners hinted at different things. And then Paul Bettany mid-show said there was still a big appearance of a new character we hadn't seen yet. And he was talking about White Vision, but we didn't know that. And that was mean of him to do. He knew how delicate the fan base was at the time, but it's okay. We forgave him because White Vision is cool as hell. Anyway, when the show ended, we were left with an incredible show, but no Mephisto. But as one theorist did say, I'm going to quote here, maybe Mephisto was the friends we made along the way. And I do agree with that. But anyway, what's interesting is that when Ironheart was announced, way back when, it actually was rumored to have Mephisto in it. It was one of the rumors at the time. But it was rumored way back then in 2021, 2022, that Sacha Baron Cohen would play Mephisto, even back then. And I remember thinking, okay, he'll be great in that role. And then I was randomly reading a comic book at my local library and I saw this. What the heck is this? This is freaking Sacha Baron Cohen. Am I crazy? Is it just me? Or is it literally him in a comic book? I don't know, man. This feels like one of those casting that was in the mind of the illustrator a long time ago. This comic book came out, I think, in 2011. I went and looked it up. Anyway, that's not why you came here. That's not why you clicked on this video. You clicked on it for the theory, so apologies for getting distracted. The theory is very simple, and I'm not the only one who has said this, but it definitely did not need to make Ironheart, a show about a girl working on a robot suit, into a magic show. There was no need for that at all. They could have kept it technical and street level, but they chose to drop more Doctor Strange clues than I could keep track of, leading me to predict that Doctor Strange is confirmed, which you already knew. That's already been confirmed, but I actually think it'll be a movie coming out in 2027 in between Doomsday and Secret Wars. It'll be one of two things. Either A, it'll be a movie before Doomsday, kind of like how Ragnarok was for Infinity War, which is less likely, to be honest, or it will be in between both movies, Doomsday and Secret Wars, like Ant-Man and the Wasp, kind of that filler movie in between the two big Avengers movies. Doctor Strange 3 has already been confirmed, but if those of you who do have been keeping up with this, you know there is an untitled, unannounced Marvel movie slated for the July of 2027. I'm predicting that is the Doctor Strange 3. It could be a surprise movie coming out in May 2026. Less likely for sure, I think. But, if it does happen to be right, you heard it here first. But the main thing I think is the 2027 one. Here's why I think that. For just a handful of reasons. One, the hints drop here. There are so many references to that world that were not needed at all. Also, Benedict Cumberbatch did say he was not going to be in Doomsday, and obviously he could be lying. But think about this. If Doomsday is this big multiversal fight with the X-Men versus the Avengers versus other teams, who is someone who's traversed the multiverse and can probably bring about some peace pretty quickly? Doctor Strange. He's one of the two people who've gone to other universes and come back to the 616 universe, the other being America Chavez. My thought is that both of them will not be in Doomsday for that reason, to drive the conflict more easily. People coming into your universe from another universe is not that scary if you have a sorcerer and his Padawan who've literally done that already. You remove your experts because maybe he's gone missing or whatever, and all of a sudden this is getting pretty scary. Removing Doctor Strange from the equation will force people to make decisions without any kind of precedent or experience, and I have a separate thought on where America will be in all of this, but I'll discuss that in my next video. And finally, third reason, and that is that Mephisto is just too big. So the question a lot of people had when this episode came out, beyond who else has made a deal with Mephisto, is when will we actually see him again? Or will we actually ever see him again? And while I'm sure this is partly just me wanting this to be true because I really, really like that performance, I actually think Mephisto will be the main villain or a major part of Doctor Strange 3. For one thing, his screen presence in Ironheart was exploding over that show, meaning he could easily fit into something much bigger than a single episode of a show not too many people were, super hyped about. So there's a lot of potential there for him, but also I think it just fits. Mephisto's not uniquely Doctor Strange's primary villain. He makes the most sense to be in a movie with a magic character. If he was going to be in any movie, I think Doctor Strange makes sense. There's even a line that I think was almost hinting at this when Riri is talking to Mephisto in the deli. She says, "I know who you are, you're Dormammu," and then he laughs, right? Almost to say, "Oh, you thought Dormammu? That iconic villain from Doctor Strange 1, you remember him? You remember that iconic scene from Dormammu, I've come to bargain? Everyone remembers that? You remember him? Well, I'm worse than that. Come see me in Doctor Strange 3, and I'll show you just how much worse I am than Dormammu." That seems insanely intentional. No one's mentioned Dormammu since 2016. So that was wildly fascinating to me and really started me on this journey. Okay, so how will it go? Of course, you're asking, how do you see this movie playing out? And I will, of course, elaborate. Picture this. Doctor Strange and Clea are going through the multiverse, fixing all the incursions. And it seems like there's someone behind a bunch of stuff. And the movie is just them trying to get to this person to stop them from wrecking things. They keep getting closer and closer. And finally, towards the end, there's a reveal that it's Mephisto behind everything. And Steven says, "Nice try, Mephisto, but you'll have to get up pretty early in the morning if you want to destroy the multiverse on our watch." And he laughs and says, "Destroy the multiverse? Why would I want to do that? You people are so fun to play with. I don't need to destroy anything. I was just upholding my part of the deal to keep you two busy. And it looks like I was successful. My client, now that's a mind I don't like to look into. Have fun with him." Steven jumps in. "We'll deal with him like we always have." Mephisto looks at him, almost pitying what he knows will happen next, and says, "Oh, Doctor, I'm afraid time ran out already. Adieu." He disappears in a cloud of smoke. And this is a great time to plug my next video, which will be about who else we'll see in Doomsday. Like, beyond the people in the chairs, who else can we expect to see in that movie? As a teaser, my overall theory is that there are not that many other people that will be in that movie. I think we've seen the majority of it already. For Secret Wars, yes, I think there will be a whole ton more, but not for Doomsday. So no, I don't think Doctor Strange or Clea will be in Doomsday because Doctor Strange 3 will be happening kind of concurrently. Wong, I'm not sure. Maybe by the time I make that video, I'll figure that out, but I'm not sure about that one. He could be kind of this dose of Kamar-Taj into Doomsday in lieu of Steven, but I could also see him not being in that movie for a completely separate reason that I'll explain in my next video. So that's it. Doctor Strange is confirmed. Mephisto plays a major role and either sets up Doomsday or serves as an in-between movie between the Avengers movies. So like I said, not groundbreaking, but did want to lock that in case I was correct about that. One more thing. I have seen the rumor, not the leak, but the rumor that there will be another Marvel casting announcement, something like that on August 27th. And on the off chance that is true, I am hustling to get my additional chairs prediction out before then. And I even might make a super short prediction just to lock it in before that potential announcement. But either way, stay theorizing, stay amazing, and thanks for being you.